Ever wondered how to plan out an entire campaign that stretches from like level 1 to 15? By the time you get to the end of this video, you should have a much better idea of how to go about doing just that. Hey, Lughart here. I have been a Dungeon Master since high school, and this channel is all about helping Dungeon Masters run awesome games. I create weekly D&D videos with information and resources designed to help DMs. So, if you're looking to level up your D&D game, really crit on that subscribe button down below. Alright, in last week's video, Creating a Campaign Part 1, I walked through some basic guidelines and steps to creating a campaign. If you haven't watched that video yet, I definitely recommend doing so because it explains some of my thoughts and guidelines about how I go about creating a campaign. I will put a link to it down in the description and up in the card here. Now, since over in part 1, I already laid the basic theory of how I create a campaign, in this video, we're going to actually create a campaign together. Now, this is just going to be some very high-level planning for your campaign, but it's going to include a lot of the details that's going to give your campaign form and structure.
All right, here we go. So we are on my computer now, and what I want to do here is I want to give you a quick overview of my workspace here, just so you know what I'm going to be using here. As you can see right here, I have a little app called MindMap up, and what this is basically, it's kind of like a, what do you call these things, a mind mapping software. So we're going to be using this to do a lot of our campaign planning at a higher level here. And then I'm also, I have the monster manual. We'll get rid of this little thing. Thank you, goodbye. Oh shoot, I picked learn more. No, go away, I don't want you. Code gravy, I don't want you. Ah. Okay, we're going to be using the monster manual. We're going to be using Volo's Guide to Monsters, and this stupid junk, dude, I know, go away. And we are going to be using Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, for this. So we're going to be using these three things, and of course we're going to be using MindMap to do this stuff. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look into our main adventure arc. We're going to start picking monsters for our main adventure arc. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be going through the monster manual, Volo's Guide, and the Tome of Foes to pick monsters that I think I want to use. And that's really all I'm going to be doing. And as I'm doing it, I'm going to be putting it over here in MindMap. And there are a couple things that I want to note down. I want to, obviously, the monster's name, right? And then I'm also going to note down the CR of the monster, because the CR later on in the planning is going to become useful for us as we try to map out what level we kind of estimate the adventurers are going to encounter the monsters and their minions at. So I want to make sure that I note that down. And so I'm really just going to kind of start flipping through these books, and we're going to start picking out monsters and minions, and we're just going to throw it here in kind of a haphazard fashion right now. And later on, we're going to do some more organizing, and we're going to connect things, and we're going to start asking why these monsters. So let's just jump into that. Okay, so I could start going through the monster manual. I almost want to, let's start with trying to find a villain, like the final big bad. Like, oh, by the way, quick note here, I have not planned any of this out. I have no idea what monsters we're going to end up with at the end of this, so I'm totally doing this on the fly. And another note, I'm not going to be super, analytical and detailed about this as I normally would be. Usually this campaign planning process might take me, I don't know, hours, possibly, I don't know, to plan this stuff out. And I'm not going to take that long today. I'm just going to kind of wing it. We're just going to do this really quickly, and we're going to come up with things that kind of fit together. Obviously, when you do this on your own, you probably want to take a little bit more time, maybe put more thought into it than I'm going to do today. But just for the sake of not having a video that turns out to be like 3 hours long, I'm going to kind of do this quickly, right? And we're just going to come up with something. What I mainly want to show you is the process so that you can do this on your own. I'm not quite so concerned with our end product today, right? So just bear that in mind. We are going to be going through this kind of quickly, and we may come up with something that is kind of implausible, but the idea is to get you the process so you can do this on your own. Our end product is not really our consideration today, so just keep that in mind as we go along here. So anyway, I wanted to find a main villain for our campaign. So let us go. Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes is awesome for high-level bad guys, so let's just take a look in here. Now, I think there was Index of Monster Stat Blocks. There was something in here that showed them by CR. So here we go, stat blocks by challenge rating. And so I'm going to zoom in here for us. This is going to be, and yeah, this is going to be useful for us. So let's just imagine that our campaign, let's establish that our campaign is going to go from levels, let's make this easy today. I don't want to take too long. Let's just say our campaign goes from level 1 to 10, okay? So I'm going to just pop over to Mind Map here, and we're just going to toss in this little field here that the campaign is from levels 1 to 10. Let's just establish that. Now usually I run a campaign that spans more levels, at least to level 15, possibly to 20, usually to 20 actually, but let's just imagine that it's from 1 to 10 today, just to make our jobs a little easier and take less time to plan this out. So levels 1 to 10, there we go. And we got that going on. So let's pop back over to Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. Now the reason I wanted to establish what level our campaign kind of spanned to is that we're going to be picking out a bad guy, right? The villain that they would encounter at the very end of the campaign. And I want to have an idea of what level the adventurers are going to be at in order to inform my decision of what CR level I'm going to pick for the big bad guy, right? So that was my whole reasoning behind doing that. Coffee. Okay, anyway, we are on this challenge rating page for monsters. Now here's the thing. As a basic rule of thumb, if you have, let's just say you have 4 or 5 adventurers, 4 or 5 players, if you take, let's say they're level 5, all right? If you take a CR5 monster one-on-one against them, it's pretty easy, all right? By the math, it's usually easy. And by experience, it's usually trivial because you have action economy going against a solo bad guy. So what we're going to do here is when I think of boss fights, in-boss fights, even mini-boss fights, it doesn't matter, I never want to pit one solo bad guy, the boss, against the adventurers. I usually want to have some minions and stuff going on. Even if you have legendary actions, even if you have lair actions, there's still some difficulties there, right? And those things help a little bit, but I don't usually want to pit one-on-one because it usually, unless I have a lot of different things going on like terrain and environmental factors, it usually ends out a little flat. So I usually don't want to do that. So what I want to do here is I want to find, like, we might even pick like a CR, if they're going to end up at level 10, like a CR 10 would be appropriate as long as we have minions. But this is the final bad guy of the campaign. And when I think final bad guy, I think this is the last fight they're going to have. I want this to be challenging. I want death to be a possibility. In fact, in the final fight, if they die, I mean, that could be okay, right? If it isn't a climatic, crazy, awesome fight and they fail, I would be okay with that. That would be an epic, memorable way to go out, potentially. So I want to make it a little challenging. So I'm not going to stick with the CR10 area. Let's target something more around CR12. And we have a Bone Claw, a Gray Render. That's interesting. I like Gray Renders. A Dwerger Despot. Okay, so we have a Dwerger Despot at a CR12. So we could do something with Dwerger in our campaign. This is interesting. All right, let's just pick Dwerger. Let's say this Dwerger Despot is our main bad guy. He is a CR12. All right, let's just pick him. Let's call that. And let's go over here. And so I'm going to make a new node. Boom. And we're going to type in Dwerger Despot. And he is, whoops, I screwed that up. Let's go back in there. He's a CR12. And I'm going to put in here, he is our main villain. All right, so there we go. So we have just sort of set some of the flavor and theme for our entire campaign, because if the main bad is a Dwerger Despot, that possibly means certain things. But let's go with that. Now, out of curiosity, let's just pop over to Dwerger Despot here and see what this thing looks like. These aren't perfect, so we'll have to scroll through. So we have Dwerger. Okay, so now even this is interesting. So, and this is actually a really cool thing about Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes. They have a bunch of different Dwerger for us that we can. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can see more on a page. Where's the Dwerger Despot? Dwerger Warlord. Oh, Dwerger Warlord. Where's the Dwerger Despot? Come on, baby. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Did I skip it? I must have skipped. There it is. Dwerger Despot. Awesome. All right, so. I'm not going to read a lot of lore today with this. I don't want to take too super forever doing this. So we got a Dwerger Despot. What I want to do here is, we had Drow. All right, Dwerger Despot. This is the big bad. Let's just start taking down the names of Dwerger here over in MindMup, and because these are probably we're probably going to use these throughout the campaign, just because, I mean, the campaign is going to feature Dwerger. So a Dwerger Hammerer is a CR2. So I'm going to just start transferring these over to MindMup. Okay, here we go. So check this out. I have basically populated this with all of our Dwerger here. And as you can see here, a lot of these Dwerger are CR2s. We have a CR3 here, and there's a Dwerger Warlord that's a CR6. All right, so, oh, I forgot to look at the monster manual, because there are Dwerger in the monster manual. So I'm gonna go pop over there, and I'm gonna grab all the Dwerger from the monster manual and throw it here for you, and then we'll come back in a moment. I just want to spare you all of the watching me populate MindMup stuff. Make your viewing experience a little bit better. Okay, and we're back. It turns out there's only one Dwerger in the monster manual, and so this is all we have, is just this one guy here. So that's it. So, but we have lots of Dwerger here. All right, this is not going to be enough. I mean, we have lots of, so these, because of the CR ratings of these are looking like pretty good minions, right, to populate some stuff as we go along from levels 1 to 10. I'm going to kind of, let's just pull some of these out. Now, some of these, now at low levels, some of these are definitely would work for bad guys, right? Oh, the Dwerger Warlord, he is definitely like a mini boss guy. This Dwerger Screamer, I don't know what this is. Let's turn the Dwerger Screamer into a like mini boss guy. These are all a Dwerger Mindmaster. That's interesting. Let's take him up there and let's turn him into a mini boss guy. So now we have a big bad boss and we have some mini bosses we kind of are putting along the side top here. Now I'm still pulling things from the monster manual and stuff, but I'm just starting to begin to imagine like how this is going to kind of play out. So I got some minions, some little lower level guys here, and then I got some big bosses up here. So we still got to we need to find some mini bosses, right, to start populating this stuff up here. And let's establish that our campaign is going to have, so we're going from levels 1 to 10. Now, remember, you don't want to only have your players playing this main adventure arc. You also want to have them going on the character adventure arcs, doing things from their backstories or other things that come up in the world. And so this isn't going to be the only thing they're doing, right? They're also going to be doing those other things. So let's kind of establish how many adventures we actually want to have that make up the main adventure arc here. So what would be a good number? I could roll a dice or so. I have a die. All right, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take 2d6, and is 2d6 reasonable? It averages out to be reasonable, I think. So I'm going to take 2d6 here, and we are going to roll this to determine how many and I wouldn't actually do this, guys. I would actually probably think this through a lot more if I'm doing my own campaign, but for the sake of today and speed, we're just going to roll these dice, and this is going to determine how many actual like adventures that are going to comprise this main adventure arc, right? So here we go. All right, 5. I got a 4 and a 1. So, see? 4 and a 1. There we go. I could not have cheated on that roll. Impossible. I want to put these dice away. These dice were actually, so these dice right here were a gift for one of my players. Awesome set of dice. They're made of crystal, and they cost almost $100. So very, very nice, beautiful dice. Thank you to I know his real name. I don't want to say his real name. What's his character name? This player changes character so often I don't remember his character name either. But you know who you are. Thanks a lot. Those are awesome dice. I love those things. Anyway, let's move on. So five adventures. So what I have going on here then, well, this is interesting because if I'm only doing 5 adventures, let me make a note of that. We want to have 5 adventures. Which means that if we're only doing 5 adventures along this main adventure arc, which might be too few, actually, we might actually want to have like some more in here. But this is a fairly short campaign. This isn't a super long campaign, so I think this is reasonable. And there are going to be other stuff going on they're doing too. Anyway, so anyway, let's move on. I'll ramble and bubble and talk until whatever. That's stupid. We have the main boss that they'll fight at the very end of this, right? So they're gonna be like CR10. They're gonna be level 10 when they fight him. This boss right here, and I have this boss, and I have these guys here. So I really need another boss in here, And I need a boss that is, I'm just going to spitball here. If I can make this boss like a CR8, that would be ideal. So let's see if we can find some sort of CR8 boss that they can fight. And obviously we have a Dwerger-centered campaign. Oh, you know what? Ooh, let's look, here, I have a thought. Let's look at Illithids, Mind Flayers. And the reason I want to look at Mind Flayers is that Dwerger hate Mind Flayers, like absolutely hate Mind Flayers. So what if, this is the thought, the Dwerger had captured a Mind Flayer, maybe several Mind Flayers or something, and they had somehow enslaved the Mind Flayers, because originally in the lore, Dwerger were enslaved by Mind Flayers until they won their freedom. So maybe in like a twist of events, Dwerger figured out a way to enslave the Mind Flayers themselves and kind of twist them to their own purposes. So that I'm going to roll with that idea, because I think Mind Flayers are around the level that we want to use. So let's pop over to the monster manual and take a look at Mind Flayer. And Mind Flayer, we need to zoom in. Boom, boom, boom. Look at this. A Mind Flayer is a CR7. And there is a variant of a Mind Flayer that is an Arcanist, which is a CR8. So, okay, there we go. So that worked out pretty well. So we're going to do a Mind Flayer Arcanist at a CR8. I'm going to populate Mind Mup with that. Mind Flayer Arcanist at CR8. Now, if we're doing that, that also means it's possible that we're going to encounter, if the Dwerger have enslaved Mind Flayer, right? Okay, here's what we're going to do here. So we're going to make a little child note here. We're going to say Dwerger have enslaved Mind Flayers. Yeah, there we go. So Dwerger have enslaved Mind Flayer. So this is one of our campaign premises, one of the plot devices behind our campaign that's going to be driving things to a certain extent. And so then that's going to explain why you have Mind Flayers working with Dwerger, or working for Dwerger, enslaved by them, when they're traditionally enemies. And they would probably, the Dwerger would want to kill Mind Flayers on sight, usually, and Mind Flayers would probably want to enslave Dwerger again, right? So, there we go. That is a little thing we're going to have going on. And what I want to do now is pop back over to Monster Manual. I do want to get this base Mind Flayer out, which is a CR7. So we're going to pull that guy out. And Mind Flayer CR7, because we can use those in, you know, in some of our high level adventures. Maybe it's going to be one of the guys that they find when they're fighting this Arcanist, maybe in this adventure or something. So we're going to pull that guy there, throw him down. And now there are Mind Flayers in, I'm going to pop that back up. There are Mind Flayers over in Volo's Guide to Monsters as well. So now that we're on Mind Flayer, a Mind Flayer kick. Mind Flayers are awesome. So players usually don't like fighting Mind Flayers, because Mind Flayers are really powerful. Like one blast, an intelligence save can, you know, paralyze or whatever they do, incapacitate like most of your party, at which point it's bad news. So let's find out where our monsters are, or our Mind Flayers. Mind Flayers, there we go. Mind Flayers in Volo's Guide. Boom, boom, boom. All right, I like the way this is going. Dwerger and Mind Flayers, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a fun campaign. You know, this is interesting. Like, somebody should, like, actually run this campaign when we get done with it, and just let us all know how it goes, because this will be pretty cool. Alhoon is a CR10. I don't know that we're going to necessarily use everything in here, so I don't want to write it all down. And Elder Brain is probably way too high level, and the Dwerger would probably not manage to enslave an Elder Brain. They would probably, so let's not go with that. Olatherid is a CR9. I don't know if we're going to use necessarily, Mind Witness. That could be cool. So a Mind Witness is basically a beholder that Mind Flayers were able to capture, incapacitate, and then turn into their own little pawn. This could be fun, something fun to encounter. So a Mind Witness is a CR5. So let me get this guy here, and we'll do a Mind Witness, a CR5. And I'll put that down. That's probably one of our minions down here. Alright, so you guys can kind of get an idea here. You can see what I'm doing. I'm basically finding monsters, and I'm talking my way through how they're related and what they're doing and stuff as I'm throwing them up here. So now we have a Mind Flayer, we have this Mind Witness, and I don't know that I necessarily found other things that made sense from a mind flayer perspective. Like I could pick one of these things and throw them in there, but the mind flayers aren't like a real focus of the campaign, and I don't want to have like too many of them. So I think I'm gonna call that a day with the couple that I already have on here. And so we need to find. I have 5 adventures. All right, let's get back on track here. So I have 5 adventures, and I have big bads for all 5 of them. There we go. So that is a good thing. Now I need some like minions and stuff. So let's start trying to find some minions for these guys. All right, so to find minions for these, and I'm not going to spend too much more time like populating our monsters and stuff. Let's find a few more that we think are cool. Now, low levels, they're going to need some like low level minions. So as you can see here, like most of my potential minions here are already CR 1s and 2s, right? But when these guys are level 1s and level 2s, they need to fight minions that are like 1/8 challenge rating or 1/4 challenge rating or half challenge rating. So we need to grab a few of those to make sure that we have things properly, like, calibrated or something. So here we have a Darrow. Oh, that's interesting. Look at it. So we have a Darrow that is a 1/4 challenge rating. Let's take a look and see what a Darrow is. So a Darrow is on page 158, which is not going to be very accurate. So Darrow are in the Underdark too. Let's just pick one of these things. Let's do a Darrow, and it's a CR 1/4 challenge rating. So let's populate this with a Darrow. Darrow CR 1/4. There we go. Toss that guy over there. There's some low-level minions for you. Now I say minions, and I don't when I keep saying minions, so there's potential confusion here. I'm not talking about minions from 4th edition. Okay, I do use those on occasion, but I'm not talking about that. I'm really just talking about like other monsters that will be in a dungeon that are not like the mini boss or the villain of the dungeon, right? These are just like the standard soldiers or whatever that are going to populate a dungeon. So let's just be clear on my terminology, because I keep saying minions, but I don't mean them the way that you might interpret them. So there we go. And so I have the Darrow. Now, there was a thing called a Steeder I saw. Oh, a Darrow Savant. Ooh, that looks cool. A Darrow Savant. CR3. I don't know what that... It's like a shaman or something by the picture. I don't know. Let's just throw that over there. I like that. That sounds really cool. A Darrow Savant. Toss that over there. Darrow Savant. This is a CR3. I'm looking for lower level stuff, so that's not helping me a super lot. But I saw something called a Steeder. Let's go back up to this, and challenge rating type, there was something called a Steeder that was 238. It's a CR 1/4. Let's just go over there and grab that. Whoop, 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 whoop. Come on, baby. You can do this. 238. A Steeder. Man, I don't know what these things are. A female Steeder? A male Steeder? Alright, so here we go. We have a female Steeder, a male Steeder. Now, I think I want to use the male Steeder. It's a CR 1/4, and it looks like what a Steeder is. It's a giant hunting spider. So things ride them. It's possible that, like, Darrow ride them. We're going to say Darrow ride them. I'm not going to read a bunch of lore today. So we got a male Steeder, CR 1/4. Let us populate that. And male Steeder, CR 1/4. And there we go. So there is something down there that we can use. And let me go back to the challenge rating blocks. And let's see what else we have here. CR 1/4. A Skulk. What the heck is a Skulk? 227. I mean, we're just going to pick some stuff, right? And we're going to use them. It looks like some sort of... it's a medium humanoid, so it's not an undead. Some children have imaginary friends that their parents cannot see. Ooh! Skulks are the soulless shells of travelers who became lost in the Shadowfell. I don't know how that fits in, but let's do it. Skulk, CR 1/2. Awesome. I mean, part of what you're going to be doing as you're doing this is you're going to determine how these things all fit together and why they're working together, right? So now we have this skulk that is part of it. And the other thing you want to do too when you're making a campaign is you don't necessarily want to have all of the same types of monsters fighting, because I think players appreciate variety. I mean, as a dungeon master, I appreciate variety. I like using different monsters and stuff that are interesting and whatnot. So having a variety of monsters, you know, that aren't like mind flayers, Dero, skulks, and having some other things are going to make your campaign more interesting to your players, because they're not always fighting, oh, we're always fighting Dwerger. More Dwerger, more Dwerger, more Dwerger. No, let's give them some variety, some more interesting things that they can encounter. And I like kind of pulling from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, because I've used some things from it, but not a whole lot. So let's see what else we got here. A Nuperibo. I'm pronouncing this right. Let's check this guy out. 168. 168. This thing. Oh, a fiend. Big overweight fiend. All right, that's awesome. We're gonna use it, and we'll figure it out as we go. So a Nuperibo is a challenge rating 1/2. So let's pop over here. CR 1/2. So they got some like little fiends that might be working with them as well. So if they've got fiends that are working with them, then that tells me that maybe they have some imps working with them. So those are, I'm on a monster manual now. Imps are devils? Devils? There we go. Imp. And an imp is a low-level devil. So an imp is a CR1. All right, there we go. Let's pop this guy over here. An imp is a CR1. There we go. And while we're in the monster manual, let's see. The monster manual should have some challenge ratings for us. Does it do it by challenge rating? Does it do it by challenge rating? Or is it, maybe it's the beginning. Sometimes they have this stuff at the beginning. Sometimes it's at the end. They don't really want to tell us. I'm really just scrolling through here. You know, they don't always organize these books in the same way. So yeah, this doesn't tell you monsters by challenge rating in the monster manual, because who would want to find monsters by challenge rating, right? This is probably, they probably have it somewhere else listed, which is absolutely silly. Gosh, it's like they don't understand how, I mean, after all these years of making editions, they still don't understand how people use books and how they might envision wanting to find things. All right, so we're going to do this the old-fashioned way, because Wizards of the Coast contracts these books out to people who... Oh, Carrion Crawler. There we go. Let's take a look at this. That's level 2. I'm looking for... I mean, I could... Oh, Carrion Crawler is a CR2. You know, Cockatrice. Ooh, Cockatrice are fun. Cockatrices, I don't know how you pronounce that stuff. I always say Cockatrice. Cockatrice is a CR 1/2. That works well in our favor. CR 1/2. There we go. And a Cockatrice is pretty nasty. Well, the thing about a Cockatrice in 5th edition is their petrification only... I think it only petrifies you for 24 hours, at which point you come back. I believe. You have to check me on it. Actually, we could probably look it over here, but... Sorry. For the sake of time, that's coffee. Sorry. For the sake of time, I'm not going to double check that fact, because it's not important for this video. All right, now what we're gonna do, now if I were really planning out this entire campaign, I would be getting more and more monsters, and I would be filling this up, or at least jotting this down somewhere with ideas, right, of the different monsters that I would want to use during the campaign. And I don't have to necessarily, here's the other thing, I might spend more time getting monsters and planning it all out and stuff, but the other thing too is, I might not. I mean, this might be enough, because you're gonna be running this campaign, but you're not actually planning out each individual adventure like in super detail. So we can get a main idea of what the campaign's going to look like and how we're going to plan this out. And then later on, when we're actually getting down to designing the adventure itself, which is probably going to be done like a little bit before the players actually play through it, because we don't want to plan too much stuff in advance that will never get used, right? Because it's not a good use of our time. So something high level and, you know, not super granular is going to benefit us. So this is actually probably not a bad place to stop right now, as far as picking out monsters and stuff. I think we have some really cool stuff going on. I think we have a main villain, we have a main idea, possibly. So we got some monsters picked out. Okay, now the next thing that we want to start doing is we want to start taking some of our villains and matching them up with the other monsters that are going to be present with them. So I'm just going to start grouping these things together. Now I'm going to pick, I have this Mind Flayer who is a CR7. Now right here I have, so I'm kind of thinking that this Mind Flayer Arcanist is going to be the big boss of the 4th adventure in this arc. And I don't want to have other Mind Flayers encountered before then. I kind of want this Mind Flayer Arcanist to be sort of like a surprise to the players, like, holy crap, Mind Flayers. So this Mind Flayer, like, little minion lackey, the cat is doing something back here. She's back there playing with something. I don't know, making a bunch of noise. I kind of want this Mind Flayer lackey to be encountered with our big bad boss here. So I'm going to just connect those nodes together. That tells me that in this dungeon where we encounter the big bad, there are going to be Mind Flayers as well. Because we kind of like revealed the fact that there are Mind Flayers with this guy here, and now we're having other Mind Flayers along with the big bad. And let's just grab these things. So who is going to be fighting in here with this Mind Flayer? Do I have anything else that is... Oh, here's a Mind Witness. Perfect. That's a perfect thing to do. So then they're thinking Beholders, right? So they'll be encountering these Mind Witnesses in this dungeon leading up to the Mind Flayer Arcanist bad guy, right? And that's a good way to do that. And then I have Dwerger, a Dwerger Warlord, Dwerger Screamer, Dwerger Mind Master. Now here's the thing. I think in the very first adventure, I don't necessarily want there to be other Dwerger encountered beforehand. I want the fact that there is a Dwerger as a villain to be revealed at the end of the adventure. So I don't want them fighting Dwerger leading up to that. I want them to be fighting something else, because I want it to be a surprise, right? An imp is kind of too high. A Nuperebu. Oh, these are little devil things. Let's have those be in our first one. Bam, we'll connect those. Cockatrices. Cockatrices, like, if they fight this at like level 1 or 2, cockatrices are, you know, they can still stone you. So let's just throw the cockatrices in this adventure here. And then skulks. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I just have an idea. All right, I have an idea. So, that is the wrong one to do. I want to connect these two together. So here is an idea for how we can introduce... Oh, that's not really working. Let's scroll instead. A way to introduce this is a little plot device. So we'll say the skulks they're like imaginary friends to kids or something. So I'm kind of thinking the skulks are befriending and kidnapping children. Just coming up with stuff on the fly, but this is a plot point. This might be how this entire campaign is introduced, right? You have these skulk dudes that are befriending and kidnapping children. I don't know why. We're going to start asking our why questions later, but I had this thought on the spur of the moment, so I wanted to get it down. So there we go. I don't like how those don't drag along with it. It'd be nice if those dragged along with it, but we'll live with that. All right, there we go. I got that. Now let's keep on linking things together. A male steeder. Oh, okay, a male steeder. I got these Diro. These are like low levels, and I got male steeders. I almost want to say the Dwerger Screamer one. Well, I'm going to pull these guys up here. So I'm going to link this to there. I got these male steeders. And I think what I'm gonna do here is I'm going to say the Darrow ride the steeders. So when the adventurers kind of fight these, they will be encountering them together. The Darrow will be riding these steeders into combat. There we go. And then there's Cockatrice. Ooh, the Cockatrice. There we go. The Cockatrice should be like, sort of like Guardians or something. Oh, Treasure Guardians. There we go. These are the Treasure Guardians. There we go. So Cockatrice will be the Treasure Guardians for this adventure here. There we go. And you can see, I mean, I'm kind of, you know, different trains of thought here as I'm looking through these things. But the basic idea is that I'm having ideas and I'm just kind of jotting them down as I go for the campaign planning. So now I have an imp, right? An imp. Ooh, let's put the imp, I already got some things here. Let's just throw the imp in with this one here. So he'll be somehow related to that one. And then this is going to be kind of a mess because some of these things don't drag like they should. Like somehow there should be a way to like turn this into a subnode, like demote it. All right, we're just going to live with this. I'm not sure. I was looking to see if there was a way to demote like a node so that it would become a child node of one. Because you can see that when you drag a node, the child nodes drag with it. And that would be useful for us to be able to drag this and have everything come with it. But I am not super familiar with this software, so we're not going to figure that out today. We're just going to live with it. It's not perfect. If you guys use this, then you'll be able to figure it out, and you'll do a much better job than I am doing right now. But let's just keep on going. I need to get some of these things matched up, so I'm going to put this Dwerger Stone Guard is going to be matched up with this here. Now this Mind Flayer is its own adventure. Let's get this guy, blah, blah, blah. We got to start matching some of these things up. Let's call this guy, he'll go to there. Okay, real quick, what I want you to do here is, if you're finding this walkthrough helpful, I want you to go ahead and down in the comments, leave me a comment saying, campaign creation rocks, or something like that. And I also want to let me know what you think the most exciting part of campaign creation is, or what the most intimidating part of it is as well. Also want to let you guys know that I do have a Patreon page set up at this point, so if you're looking for a way to help support the channel, just want to say thank you for all of the videos, then you can go ahead and check that out. I'll put a link down in the description for it. I also have some really cool perks that I offer to my patrons, so feel free to check that out if you would like. Okay, so as you can see here, I kind of moved things around a little bit. I got some organization a little bit to a certain extent. I have gone ahead and linked all of these things up. I'm going to save you a little bit of viewing time, and I've also created the nodes that are red are now our main adventures along our main adventure arc. And the next thing that we want to start doing is we want to start brainstorming why these monsters are working together. Now, it's not a long... we've already talked about some of this, right? We've talked about the Dwerger having enslaved the Mind Flayers, and the rest of them are Dwerger, right? So, what was I going on? Okay, so what we want to do right now that I got these things kind of organized out for us, and the other thing is, there aren't enough like monsters and minions and stuff really for all of these. Like, this really deserves to be fleshed out some more. But we've already spent a lot of time going over these things. We're not gonna do this now, right? But just as a note to yourself, when you're actually doing this in your own campaign, you might want to populate more things here, or not, depending on how you want to do it. You can go either way. So what's the goal of these monsters? What are they trying to do? We need to answer that question. We have a Dwerger despot. He's enslaving, so they've enslaved Mind Flayers. They're capturing children, right? They're kidnapping children. So why would they be kidnapping children? Okay, I mean, so the Dwerger, okay, I have an idea. Here we go. This is what we're rolling with because time. So the main goal here is the Dwerger despot, and we're going to pick a name for him, and we're going to call him Tim because we're just going to call him Tim. The Dwerger despot, and I spelled that wrong. Let's just fix that real quick because I'm a writer person by profession. Dwerger despot Tim has discovered a way to mind control and permanently charm people, things, creatures. We'll call them creatures. Creatures. And this right here, it requires humanoid sacrifices or souls. I don't know. There we go. This might not be the most genius thing, and you can kind of see everything is rearranging itself here. This might not be the most original or genius idea here, but I'm under pressure and the camera's running, so this is what we came up with. So that kind of tells us why these skulks are befriending and kidnapping children, because they need souls to power the mind control and permanently charm. Now that he is doing this, so he's mind controlling and permanently charming people, which means that this Dwerger despot's goal is to what? What's he trying to do with this? I mean, take over the world? Take over the region? Oh, here we go. Okay, so here we go. Let's put this down. Let's go over to our node over here. So our Dwerger despot, there we go. Let's make a node here. Our Dwerger despot was exiled from the Underdark community. from the Underdark Dwerger community, and now wants to create an army to take over that community and get revenge. There we go. Boom. All right, so now we have a motivation for our main villain. There we go. He was exiled, and now he wants to go back with an army and show the Dwerger what's up that exiled him. I don't know why he was exiled. We could think of that later. You could think of that later. It doesn't really matter. See, things are kind of not working super well here because I don't know how to use the tool properly, right? But let's not let that get in the way of getting stuff done here today. Anyway, we have a motivation for our main villain. Right? He is seeking vengeance. There we go. And things are just moving around. All right, we have a motivation of the main villain, and we have a means. He has a way to charm people and create an army with them. And his methods are, one of his methods is kidnapping people and taking their souls to sacrifice them to do those things. So this little adventure here, this will be encountered. This is the first adventure. And that's the first thing that's going to happen. They'll do that. We might kick this off. I mean, this right here kind of informs our inciting action. The Skulks are befriending and kidnapping children, so that's how we'll introduce this plot line to the characters. This could be some townsfolk or something that approach them and say, hey, you know, our children are turning up missing, go investigate. And then the heroes have to investigate, and they end up finding some sort of dungeon. Let's say these guys are in like an abandoned mine complex. Oh, okay, here we go. So they are in an abandoned mine complex. And now Dwerger are Underdark creatures. They usually are encountered underground. So the fact that the very first adventure was encountered in an abandoned mine complex, I think informs the rest of these. This might turn into, you know what? Let's just call this a mega dungeon, right? There are different levels. As you keep delving down, you get into more and more of these things. Now, you don't have to do it this way. I don't know that this is necessarily a good way to do it. I know this is an old school way of doing it. I've never actually done this sort of thing before, but on the fly, we're coming up with ideas. And so we're going to call this a mega dungeon. There we go. We just made this into, oh, I got the wrong one there. There we go. Right here. This is where I wanted to go. Mega dungeon. Woo! So the idea of a mega dungeon, in my opinion, it might vary, is that we're basically going to have then this is the entrance. This is how you begin into the mega dungeon. There's this abandoned mine complex, and this abandoned mine complex, there are tunnels that lead further and further down. And as you go further and further down these tunnels, you're going to then encounter the rest of these adventures that we have set up here. So the fact that the entrance here is in one location, there should be like a town nearby, because when you're doing a mega dungeon, the heroes are going to periodically surface, right, to restock, rest up, and do all that sort of thing, go shopping with their loot they're getting. So we need to have a town nearby. So let's just make a town for our mega dungeon, and let's call the town Hackabro. I don't know. I just picked something up. This is oops, crap. There we go. Hackabro is a local town. And here we go. So we have Hackabro as our local town, and this is where the heroes are going to originally end up, and this is the local townsfolk here, the ones that are going to approach them and say, hey, can you help us? Our children are being kidnapped. And then the heroes are going to go, you put the hook there. I'm going to assume that your players are going to go along with these things. So I'm going to say things like your heroes will go, the players will go. Obviously, as a dungeon master, you want to put the hook there. You never want to force them to do anything. But we're going to assume that they're good, upstanding chaps that are going to go along with your plans. We're just going to make that assumption because it's necessary to some extent. Otherwise, why are you doing any planning if they're not going to bite any of your hooks? And that's a whole different video. Actually, I did a video about that. Anyway,
So anyway, they're going to go, so they go into here, they go through level 1, right? Now here's a question, so this is something we should answer then. If they go into level 1, right, we're just going to call them level 1, level 2s, level 3s, whatever, of the Mega Dungeon. The question would be, why would they go any deeper? Now, okay, here's how we're going to tie this in. So I mentioned before that we have character adventure arcs as well. And you don't want them to only be going through your Mega Dungeon. You also want them to be going through like these character adventure arcs. So what you might do is they'll go in here to this first level of the dungeon. They'll accomplish their objective, right? They'll believe that they have discovered the reason that the children are missing. It's this Dwerger Mind Master. Ooh, and the Dwerger Mind Master actually plays in rather nicely with the fact that they are mind controlling people, right? Because that's kind of that is what Mind Masters do. I use one of those once in my campaign. They're pretty cool. So there we go. They'll think they go into here and they clear this out, they take care of business, and they're like, we're done. At that point, you can introduce one of your character adventure arcs to the players, and they'll go off and they'll do some things in a different place. And then when they come back to the town, they'll hear that, you know, the problem's not solved. People are still missing, right? Which is going to lead them into the next area of the dungeon. They're going to go back into the mine complex, and you can do one of two things. I suggest you could just repopulate that first level with this next set of Dwerger and their cronies that you want them to find. But I would suggest having it be empty. Maybe even throw in some like low-level things like kobolds or goblins that they would just smash going through. And they're like, these kobolds and goblins can't be the ones doing all of the kidnapping and stuff. And then they would find some other tunnels leading deeper into the compound. And that's where, when they explore those tunnels, they would come to these Dwerger Screamers. So let's get this idea down. So there would be tunnels leading deeper to this compound. There we go. So you got these tunnels leading deeper. Oh man, everything's moving around. Sorry, I don't know how to use the tool very well. But we're going to roll with it because that's life. Sometimes life is dirty. And tunnels leading deeper into this compound, and then they go into this compound, and these guys were, they were capturing other townsfolk or something. At some point, we want to have something else going on besides just capturing townsfolk and always going deeper and deeper into the dungeon level. We'll want to come up with some idea for that. But let's just say for the purposes here, this guy is continuing to capture townsfolk. There we go. Continuing to capture townsfolk. Okay, I pulled that apart a little bit so that we can kind of see that they are doing all of this. So they'll go on, they'll clear this out, they'll come back up from this, and they'll go on some other character adventure arcs, some other things from their backstories, or other things that have happened that you want to introduce them to. And at some point, now our next thing that we have them plan to do is this like Dwerger Warlord. Okay, here's my thought. Here's my thought on how we do this. So I know we said Mega Dungeon, but I have a thought. At this point, the heroes have now interfered with two of these mini-bosses, the Dwerger Mind Master and the Dwerger Screamer, right? And you have a boss here, this despot, who wants his souls. And he knows these heroes are now interfering with his plans. And so, the despot commissions this warlord to finish the heroes, put an end to the heroes. So that is our plot device for this guy. The despot has ordered the warlord to murder the heroes. I like calling the PCs heroes. That's how I run my games. I envision them as heroes. So that's what we're going to call them. So the warlord is going to go kill them. Now now I know we said Mega Dungeon, but let's say that this is somewhere else. This is going to be somewhere else. And what we're going to do is order the warlord so the warlord is sending assassination parties after the heroes. So as they're off, this is how I would do this, as they're off on one of their character arcs, or they're traveling from someplace to someplace, you just have a group of Dwerger assassins show up. And it could be some of these guys here, the Dwerger Hammer, or the Dwerger Kamirachi or something. We might actually go in and there is an assassin stat block in the monster manual, we could take that and make it a Dwerger assassin. And there are like some spies and stuff, and we could make those Dwerger spies. And I'm not going to write them in here, but those are really good ideas that we could have here. And then those Dwerger, actually, I should write these in. So we have Dwerger assassins, Dwerger spies. Now, I think off the top of my head, I think the assassin's like a CR 8-ish. The Dwerger spies are really low. These are like CR 1/4 or halves or something, if I remember correctly, which I probably don't. But so these guys, but that's not too bad, because I think at this point we are kind of envisioning that this is going to be like the third adventure they're going to come across. So they might have an assassin that shows up, or a couple assassins that show up to try to take them out. And the idea here, though, is that you're going to have some of these assassins bands showing up attacking the adventurers, and let them be Dwerger, or let them have notes on them from the warlord, or let them have, okay, here we go. They will have photos of contracts on them. They have contracts on their bodies with photos, drawings, images of the heroes. And so this will basically tip off the adventurers that somebody is commissioning these groups to take them out. And once they see that people are sending assassins after them, they're going to be like, okay, guys, the assassins are not going to stop unless we take out the head. And that will lead them to tracking down the Dwerger warlord. Now let's put him somewhere else. Let's put him, let's have him in some sort of like, not a dwarven stronghold, some sort of stronghold, maybe like an abandoned, or the ruins of a human keep or something above ground. Something like that. Let's make, because I don't want everything underground. Let's make some variety, in our adventures. So there we go. That's where we're going to find him. And there we go. So they're basically going to track him down, right? And they are going to take him out, theoretically. At which point, coffee. They're gonna take him out, and they're gonna be like, problem solved. Or, because here's the thing, we want them to go back into this mega dungeon and take out some of these other guys. So what we might do is on this guy, we have some sort of clue or hint or something that would tip off the heroes that this is not the mastermind behind it all. There is another mastermind. So, I mean, I love doing little handouts, little pieces of paper, to my player, giving them to my players. And so what we might do on this guy is the Dwerger warlord has letters on his person from Tim, who we're calling the Despot. There we go. And so when they take out this guy here, we'll give him a name, of course. We'll flesh him out as a full-blown NPC in our story. Not here, but you would do that if you're when you actually start planning this adventure. When they take out this guy, they find a bunch of letters on his person from Tim, the Dwerger Despot. And you might not say who Tim is either, right? In fact, you might give this Dwerger Despot some like special powers. You might make him somewhat fiendish or something, really spice him up or whatnot. But basically the idea here is, again, when they take out this guy, they're going to find some other items. They're going to tip the adventurers off that there's somebody else over there in this like mega dungeon that starts with the abandoned mine system, so that they go back here and investigate it. There we go. So now they're going to go back to the mega dungeon, and they're going to start encountering these guys here. And they're going to go into the next level, and at which point they're going to fight the Arcanist, right? Okay, so this is what we're going to do now. I have talked through a lot of this, and this is turning to be a rather long video. So I could do the last couple here and keep walking through it, and I think some of you would get a lot of value out of that, but I also think some of you already get the idea, and you can already do this on your own. And so I am not going to walk through these last two here just for the sake of time, because there are a couple other things I want to cover in this video. So I'm going to skip walking through details about these guys. I think you have the main idea. I think you know how to flesh this sort of thing out and lead from one thing to another. So let's skip to the next thing that I wanted to do here. Now I already have these. Now we already went ahead and we kind of laid these out in the order of progression that we think they're going to go from, right? We're going to start with this one here, and then we're going to go to this one, and then we're going to go over to Dwerger Warlord, at which point the next adventure will be the Mind Flayer Arcanist, and then we're going to go into the Dwerger Despot. So the next thing we want to do, we have these set up in the order that we're going to encounter them in, And what we want to do now is we want to kind of plan the levels we expect the heroes, the PCs, to be at when they encounter these things. So I imagine this is a CR2, right? And I never like to do solo bad guys, right? So let us say that they encounter the Dwerger Mindmaster when they are level. Let's just pick a number. Let's just say they fight them at level 3. Let's say they're level 3 when they take on this Mindmaster. Now, what that means for us is that we can have the Mindmaster be our mini boss, the boss of this adventure, and have some other cronies working with him in that boss fight. So you don't have one solo boss. One solo bosses are horrible. Usually, the adventurers will just surround and pound, and they go down super fast, and it is very not exciting. It doesn't work very well, and that's a whole other video. But so we're gonna have them encounter them at level 3, and I'm gonna change the picture, the color on this. There we go. We'll go with that. We'll go with that orange color. So they'll encounter that at level 3, and remember they're gonna have some. So that means that you're gonna have a couple other adventures that happened before this. There might be some goblins in town or some kobolds. I love kobolds. Before they actually encounter this, right? Your main adventure arc, which is fine. Get them leveled up a little bit before they start taking on the real bad guys. And this is going to be the next one. Now, I have a Dwerger Screamer. He's a CR3. At this point, I mean, we know, let's go up here. We know that our Dwerger Despot, it is the last thing they're going to fight in the campaign. So we know that they are going to be level 10 when they take on the Dwerger Despot, right? We know that. So let's do that. And I think that was the orange color I used. And level 3, let's just say the Dwerger Screamer, they're going to be level 5 when they take on that dude there. And these are all estimates. Remember, estimating, because when this all plays out and the game actually starts happening, you don't know what will happen and where they'll end up. So we're just estimating things. I kind of want this Mind Flayer. I envision that it's possible that once they start going into the Mind Flayer Arcanist, maybe they just keep going and clearing out the rest of this. So let's call the Mind Flayer Arcanist level 8. They'll be level 8 when they take on the Mind Flayer Arcanist. And what did I have here? So I had level 5. Let's say they're level 7. Let's say they're level 7 when they take on the Dwerger Warlord, because they've been doing some other character adventure arcs that we discussed before this guy comes with his assassins. And let me change my mind on this. Let's say this Mind Flayer Arcanist is level 9. There we go. Level 9. So basically the way I see this playing out then, as far as the overall campaign planning goes, oh, that's cool. I can just click and drag. That's good to know. Is they're going to fight some low-level baddies, goblins, kobolds, and stuff before they're finally introduced to the Dwerger Mindmaster at level 3. They'll fight him, and they'll think that this whole problem is solved. They'll go off and do some other adventures, some character stuff from backstories and whatnot. And then stuff is still happening, stuff is still going on, so they go back into this abandoned mine, and they go a little bit deeper when they're level 5, and they fight this guy. And they're like, okay, we defeated him, and we finally solved our problem. That's all taken care of. They go off and do some other things. At some point, when they're level 6, they start getting these assassins coming after them. So they're going to level 4, level 5, and they get these assassins coming after them. And they'll take care of that. They'll think that that's all. Well, no, remember we had these little hooks here saying they have to find there's other things going on. But there might be a couple adventures that happen in between here that they go off and do, right, before they end up coming over here to take these guys out. So they're going to level up from level 7 to 8, and when they're 9, they'll come back into here, and they'll clear out this little dungeon with the Mind Flayer Arcanist, and then once they clear that out, they'll level up to level 10, at which point they can take on the final bad guy in the dungeon down here. And so this is kind of how I see the level progression playing out. And what I usually do at this point is I'll probably put this in a spreadsheet and kind of start, filling in some details here and some thoughts and whatnot. But what we really have going on here now is I think this is your high-level planning for your campaign. And I talked through a lot of different things, and this is pretty much it. This is what you need to, this is what you need to do. This is what I do, right, to plan out my campaigns. Now, this is the first time I've used this mind map thing, and I kind of like it a lot. I can save it to my Google Drive and whatnot. I usually do this on a piece of paper, right, but this is the basic idea. I'm doing a mind map and just filling out this information here, and this is my high-level planning. Okay, so what I really wanted to do in this video too is I wanted to show you the basic thing, the way I would do this for like character backstories and stuff, and we don't have a lot of time here, and this video has already dragged on far long enough, and I don't think you want to sit through me going through this exact same thing for character backstories. But let me just show you some of my players will give me nice backstories. Like this is one of my players gave me this backstory for Shadow Star, and you can see I'm just going to do a quick scroll through this so you can kind of see this. But he wrote all of this up for his backstory, which is absolutely awesome. So basically what I would do is I would comb through this backstory to get an idea of, and I would take inspiration from this that I can create little adventures around. Like, I don't remember what this has been a while since you wrote this to me, so I don't know that there's things in here, but I would read through this and I would get ideas for adventures. And from this, I would take things to create adventures for this player, for this character, and then the entire group would help him to accomplish some goal that he has kind of pending and hanging out there from his backstory, right? And I comb through it, I get ideas, and doing this really makes these adventures awesome for that player in particular. It makes it feel more personal, and just it really makes them feel like, and it also validates the fact that they spent all this time writing this backstory, and now the DM is obviously reading the backstory and then using stuff from it to create entire adventures for the player. And this is a little touch that you can do in your games that is going to make them just stand out a whole lot more to your players. And so I do this sort of thing. I'll comb through there, and I might mind map it out, but a lot of times when I these little like adventures that are based off from backstories are little one-off adventures that they might go on here and there. Sometimes I'll do an entire arc based upon a backstory, but usually these are little one-off things because my players, at least, they're always focusing on the main adventure arc, and then I'll throw in these little things based on their backstories from time to time. I'll comb through this, I'll get ideas for backstory, and I may or may not lay it out in this sort of thing. But my planning for it goes along the basic idea. You know, I will get an idea for an adventure from here, and then I'll start thinking of monsters to fill in that'll accompany it, and I'll think of why they're working together, and I'll do the basic same stuff that I did for my main adventure arc until I have some plot, some ideas, and some stuff going on there. Alright guys, what I'm going to do here is I did all of this campaign planning in MindMup, and I've saved it to my Google Drive, and I will make a shareable link to this, and I will put it in the description of this video. That way you guys can actually go look at this yourselves. I think you can probably copy it and put it in your own Google Drive, maybe, if that's the way it works, and then you can use this or play with it, or you'll at least be able to go in here and see this as an example. So there's a link down in the description for this, so you can actually go in here and look at it yourself, and I think that would be even more useful to you. So there you go. Boom. Alright, so I hope you found this video useful, that you now have a much better idea of how to go about designing and creating a campaign. And if you did, please hit that thumbs up button and consider sharing it with someone who you might think find this useful as well. And I can't talk. And so with that in mind, remember that I make Dungeons & Dragons videos every week to help DMs run awesome games. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below, and there's like a bell too that you can click to be notified when new videos come out. And, as always, if you got questions about DMing or you have a problem with one of your games, please let me know down in the comments, because I'm always happy to help. I really am. I mean, I always say that at the end of my videos, but the truth is that I really do want to help you guys. You guys. Guises. This is a sign of when you should stop recording and just do your end line. Your, like, tagline? Tagline. So until next time, let's play D&D.